I think the best message that I have is that the body never makes mistakes. I would like you to become a believer, every one of you. Believe in nature, in God, in your body, that it's really a holy temple and it has its own wisdom and intellect. I was trying hard to deliver that message. The next message, my message that I think is very important, is that you can and you better be intuitive instead of trying to rationalize everything, because you can think science knows everything and I should do what science tells. Let's see, science says that it's good to pour nitrates and pesticides in the soil. It is scientifically approved method. Do you agree with that method? No. So you're here anti-scientific. Science says it's a good thing to put immunization in children. Do you agree with that?
No.
So science says chemotherapy is the best solution for cancer. Should we go and continue rationalize? I'm telling you that science doesn't know everything today. We keep discovering new elements in human body that we didn't know, and we probably don't know a lot of it today yet. I am trying to convince you to be more intuitive, and I believe you could do it. But the most important message that I could give to you is the message about 12 steps to raw food, because I believe that cooked food is addiction, and I'm going to go into that. But in order to go there, I would like to ask you, please relax. I need to feel that communication, because I will have to literally undress in front of you mentally, and it's not easy to go naked in front of people when they sit in tension. So relax and let me feel that. Your smiles are very helpful. Because there are so many of you, and I would like to be in touch with every single pair of eyes, every soul here, because my heart is pounding. It's a very hard psychological program that we're going into. Okay, good. Let's start. I believe that cooked food is addictive because my life led me into that. I was teaching about raw food for 6 long years, and I think I did a very good job. I think my classes were interesting. I got lots of very, very excellent responses from people, but nobody went on raw food. I had wonderful response, but 0 results, 0 success. People did not go on raw food. They told me they understood that raw food is the solution, but they told me they would love to go raw, but nobody went raw. Less than 2% of my students were still raw after 30 days. Less than 2%. And 0 after Christmas and Thanksgiving. 0. And I was doing it for 6 years, trying to apply different methods. I was trying to divide my classes into 10-week breaks, and every week I will commute, if it takes 300 miles or 500 miles every week, to the same destination to teach the class. I was very committed just to make it possible for people to stay raw. And in between I'll call them in the middle of the week and I'll ask them, so what did you have for lunch today? I was like a police at a certain time. And it didn't work. And then I was trying to make my classes entertaining, and they were very entertaining, and it didn't work. And I was trying to make people meet each other together for 2 months and make food together, and it didn't work. Nothing worked. And only when my friend took me to AA meeting, it finally got to me that cooked food is an addiction. And then I started to make research, and I found out that cooked food is an addiction. And then I have created this program that I called 12 Steps to Raw Foods. And when I started to exercise that program, then I started to have really good results. I would go everywhere, different states, different parts of the world, and I would teach 12 steps to raw food, and people will begin to stay on raw food. Literally, they will begin to survive on raw food. Even the husbands and wives are eating cooked food. They started to be raw. And I think that this is my spiritual mission, this is my way, this is my path, and I'm sticking to that. Today I know that cooked food is addictive on 4 levels. I will briefly repeat it. I went into details yesterday in introductory class, but some of you didn't come, so I'm going to briefly repeat that. Cooked food is addictive on chemical level because all carbohydrates, when they cooked, turn chemically into sucrose, into white sugar. And white sugar is very addictive substance. Everybody knows that. You can read the book Sugar Blues, and you will see their proof beyond any doubts that white sugar is addictive. So when we eat cooked carbohydrates, it looks like it's brown rice. It looks like it's baked squash, organic squash. It has different texture, but if you will really look in a huge microscope, electronic microscope, you will see that the structure of that chemical structure is sucrose, white sugar. Okay, that is why all international cuisines are based on the cooked carbohydrates. Okay, so that's just one level, chemical level of addiction to cooked food. The next one is the biological level, the chemical, biological, mental, and spiritual. So the second one is biological. We were all already been raw fooders in our lifetime when we were just born, because our mother was feeding us raw breast milk. She did not steam it. She did not pasteurize it. In fact, if you would drink pasteurized, you wouldn't be as healthy. So you already were on raw food in your life. And some people testified yesterday that they've been on just breast milk for a year or 2. So you already been raw fooders for a year and 2 in your life, straight, 100% raw fooders with no problem. And then your pediatrician told your mother that you need to begin to feed your baby cooked food. And your mother bought some colorful bottle with 18 months of life shelf and put you on a special chair and put your new bib, and your father was there with the camera, remember? And then she said, open your mouth, baby. And you opened your mouth. But as soon as the cooked food touched your tongue, your body said no. The body recognized the harmful taste of cooked food in there, and the body said, oh no, it will take you a long time to get rid of that havoc. You'll never be the same. Don't do that. And so the baby did this, right? And then mother said, okay, father, hold the baby. And then they forced it into you. And then you spit it out. And they did it again. You did it again. That's what babies do when they fed cooked food, first time in their life. But then mother was persistent, and you were hooked on cooked food. And since then, it became part of your life. You cannot imagine living without it, and it's really very hard to make that step. So that's biological level of addiction to cooked food. And I want to remind you that the good news is that if you only stay for 2 months raw, 100%, your body is capable of flipping back. And your body will actually produce only juices that are needed for raw food diet, which is much less. According to Dr. Zalmanov, who published the book Sacred Wisdom of Human Body, when we eat 3 cooked meals a day, our body produces 2 gallons of digestive juices per day. When we eat raw food, it's somewhere roughly around 2 cups, 2 gallons, 2 cups, huge difference. To produce 2 gallons, it takes about 70 to 80% of our entire energy. So whenever you stay 2 months on raw food, your body flips back to become a raw food body, and then you produce less digestive juices. How many of you have noticed that you produce less juices, that you don't salivate, that you don't have no growling anymore? How many of you? Raise your hand. Look around. See, there are several people. I'm not lying. I'm not making it up. It's true. Okay, and then the next level is mental level of addiction to cooked food. Because we live in a stressful world. We have lots of stress every day. And we were not educated how to handle the stress. Nobody ever told you when you were a child, maybe some exceptions, but nobody told you, hey, whenever you have stress, go for a walk. And just go for a walk. most people said, well, you cried, baby, here is a lollipop for you. Oh, you feel bitter, let me buy you some ice cream. That's what we were told, that food is comforting. And so majority of our food stopped being nutritious. It's not important anymore. It's very important that it is comforting. So we now eat for comfort, not for nutrition. And it's way more important because our life is so stressful. And if you go in the supermarket and see how much nutritious food and how much comforting, most of it is comforting. I would say 90% is comforting and only 10% is nutritious. And of course chocolate is not nutritious. Not at all. It's very comforting. And cake is not nutritious. It's comforting. And popcorn is not nutritious. It's comforting. And so lots of food is comforting. Very comforting. The more comforting, the less nutritious. And so the best way to handle the stress is to go for a walk. And then the second thing you could do, you could just drink some water. Because whenever we go for a walk, our muscles produce some positive hormones, including some endorphins. And then we feel better. These endorphins counteract the negative emotion, negative hormones that when we have negative emotions, stress. So then we begin to feel better. And everybody knows that. You all experience that. When you're walking, you always feel better. Even if you don't like to walk, even if you're physically not fit, after walk you always feel better. Feel emotionally better. And finally, okay, chemical, biological, mental, and then spiritual addiction to cooked food. Because we are all spiritual beings. You are all spiritual beings. Every single one of you is not just a robot who is mechanically moving. You have this something in you that is the most important thing, spiritual being. And as a spiritual being, we have spiritual tasks. But we also live in material world. And when we live in material and in spiritual at the same time, material world is very demanding. We have created very demanding material world. Is there anybody who doesn't have to make a living here? Is there anybody who doesn't make any payments? Is there anybody who doesn't pay car insurance? Is there anybody who doesn't have to do certain things every single day, whether you want it or not? So, because we have to, we push the spiritual thing aside. Well, it could wait. It could wait. I have to pay my debts. That could wait. Well, it's waiting there already for 30 or 40 years. And because of that, we have developed spiritual pain. That's the way of spiritual self letting know that it's waiting. It's still waiting. We develop spiritual pain. That spiritual pain is not like physical pain, but it's much worse. It makes people commit suicide. It makes people feel depressed and take antidepressants. And that makes us feel so unhappy and so bored and so empty and feel such a grief. Because it's very, very important. And so that grief is so unbearable that we would like to have a break. We're searching for some pleasures. When we follow our spiritual mission, we don't look for pleasures because our life is just plain happiness. But when we don't, when our life is really shallow, then we're looking for pleasures. Are we looking for pleasures? What are pleasures? And what is the difference between pleasure and happiness? When you buy on yourself a new dress, is it a pleasure or happiness? Some people think it's happiness, but it's actually pleasure. And when you buy yourself a new expensive car, is it a pleasure or happiness? When in Russia, they all believe it's happiness. What do you think? What is it? It's just a pleasure. When you eat in good food, delicious food, what is that? Happiness? Pleasure. So what is happiness? Happiness is when you are fulfilling your spiritual self, when you're connected to your inner being. That's happiness, and that's the feeling. It doesn't go anywhere away. Actually, happiness fills you with energy, and it gives you, and it doesn't take any hormones from your body. It doesn't waste anything. When pleasures, whenever you experience pleasure, is wasting your hormones. It's draining your system. In order to eat, you need to drain some hormones. In order to experience high, you need to drain some hormones. And people who use pleasures all the time, like, some people have so much money, they could buy any pleasures. They become very depressed because they drain their positive hormones. They lack hormones. So pleasures are really harmful. No wonder all masters were staying away from pleasures. They were trying to live the life with little pleasures so they will be closer to happiness. That's two things. Some people think that they could substitute happiness with more pleasures. They think the more pleasures they have, the closer they to happiness, but actually they're further and further away. So the most accessible, the most available, the most inexpensive pleasure is cooked food. And it does knock you down for a few minutes. For 49 cents you buy a bag of chips at any convenience store. And you eat them and your brain becomes foggy for a couple minutes and you're having a break from your spiritual pain. And we want it to last. So we go again and again and again. We eat enough so it lasts for several hours. And that's the hardest level of addiction to cooked food, the spiritual level. Okay, and that's why we will dedicate 4 last steps to the spiritual addiction to cooked food. I found out that, in fact, I read about this in a big book of alcoholics, Alcoholics Anonymous, that if people don't find their spiritual mission, if they get rid of one addiction, another addiction will instantly come in. They'll begin to do something else because they cannot live with the whole, spiritual hole in their heart and without addiction. Addiction helps them to cope. Addiction to cooked food, I believe, is the hardest of all addictions. Several people already, professionals, specialists, psychologists, told me that Cooked Food Anonymous, 12 Steps to Raw Food, is their program of the 21st century, because they say when people go raw 100%, they simultaneously quit smoking, drinking, drugs, and any other abuse of the body, because that is the hardest. That kind of includes all the rest of addictions in it. How many of you know that when you go raw you cannot smoke? How many of you heard that? Nobody knew. You know that you cannot smoke. You just cannot. You're unable to smoke. And you cannot drink alcohol. You just stop. It doesn't work. How many of you noticed that? Thank you. Thank you. See? That's how my husband quit drinking. We came from Russia. He was drinking wine. I had to hide it in the house. I know. But he just, after 6 months being raw, he says, well, I forgot about drinking. I said, what do you mean you forgot? I thought you just do it on purpose. You just decided to be healthy. He said, no, I forgot. I didn't even think about it. And then it was so weird to celebrate New Year's Eve and not even have a champagne. When my mother, who had already cancer, I called her and she says, I'm drinking champagne in your health. Like, it's in Russia. It's impossible not to drink champagne for the New Year's Eve. And we didn't really care. It was the first time in our life. Okay? My friend says, I'm quitting to smoke. I said, are you quitting to eat cooked food? He said, no. I said, do you know that if you quit eating cooked food, you'll quit smoke automatically? He said, I do know that. I said, so why don't? He said, but it's harder to quit eating cooked food than to quit smoking. So I'll just do one at a time. Okay. Well, this is a very radical idea that cooked food is addictive. To me, it is so obvious, and to so many people, it is so obvious. To everybody who tried to stay 100% raw, it is obvious that cooked food is addictive. But to majority of the world, it is very radical idea. And I don't blame you if you feel resistance inside, and I'll try to work with that. Can I ask you my 3 questions? Some people didn't hear my 3 questions. Have you ever overeaten in your life?
Yes.
Did you like how you feel?
No.
Can you promise me right now you'll never do it again?
No.
What does it tell you? That there's something you would like to, but you cannot promise. So who makes decision for you what to eat? Is it you or your body? Your brain? like your addiction. So who is making decision? Who is in charge of your food decision, making decision what to eat? Are you making it and you just, no problem, you just do it what you want? Or something happens that you really go around and you know you shouldn't take that chocolate, but it looks so good and it's free. Somebody's treating you, or you know you shouldn't have any more of those burritos and you're not really hungry, but they smell so good. They smell so good. Oh, this time and next time I won't eat them anymore. Heard that thought before? I would like to invite you to be very brave and share with everybody those stories that people even think that they could be ashamed of. But there's really nothing to be ashamed of. When we will all understand that everybody goes through the same process, you will have no shame anymore ever about that. But can you share with us the stories when you were hiding what you were eating from others, hiding really seriously? Please, and I have here mic, and you'll have to speak in the mic so we could hear. And please, anybody brave? Yes, can you quickly send the mic to that lady? And you have to almost kiss that mic like this. Otherwise it wouldn't do anything. Tell your name, first name.
Yeah, I'm Glenda. And the big problem I had was chocolate bars. And if I had to go to the post office, and that was at Shoppers Drug Mart, and you have to pass by, naturally they put them right at the checkout. Or the dollar store was worse, because then it's 2 for $1 and they won't let you buy one. You got to buy 2. And I said, I don't want to. You have to buy 2, but I'll eat them. Mm-hmm. That's your problem. You have to buy 2. I would eat 2, but I'd hide the wrappers so my husband wouldn't know that I had any chocolate bars.
Thank you so much for your honesty. Please, next. Let me tell you the story that happened to a lady who told me last weekend. She says that she has been a raw foodist for 2 months. And her husband made fun of her, and he said, oh, one day you'll just begin to eat muffins. And she said, no, I feel so good. But then she started to eat muffins. But she didn't want her husband to know. So she would go to another side of town, to the bakery, and she would go inside the bakery, and she'll eat it there quickly so nobody could see her. And then there was a rainy day, and she had dark raincoat, and she had crumbles on her raincoat, and she didn't notice. So she came home, and her husband looked at her, and he said, oh, you had a muffin. And she said, no, I didn't, and she became red. And he said, how about crumbles on your raincoat? And then she said, oh, yeah, I did have a muffin. So, can you tell me anything like that? Please? See, there is nothing to be ashamed of. It's a normal behavior. It's just a sign of addiction, but we all have that. Well, is there anybody in this room who didn't find themselves in any relationship to any of this, whatever we're saying? Somebody who says, well, if I decide, I could do anything you want. You could do anything if you decide?
Yeah, but I'm in denial.
Well, thank you so much. Okay. So now we all see that there is some kind of this tricky power, this negative power, this energy that makes us do something we don't want. Do you see that? That's something we do that we regret later. We regret so many times that we even gave up. We don't try anymore. So many people already tried to quit eating chocolate so many times that we quit trying. Well, it's getting boring and irritating to try because I know I'll give up again. How many of you had that experience? Or how many of you tried to quit eating something that you already decided not to try anymore? Thank you for your honesty. Thank you. There are so many of us. Wonderful. So let's think today. Let's take a chance. Let's imagine, let's fantasize that you will get a special miraculous chance to actually do what you want, and there will be no that power again. You'll be actually able to do what you want, what you just decide, what you dream of. What would it be? What would you want? What would you want to be? Would you want to be free of any of those addictions? Can anybody express how you feel? What would you want to be? In other words, I'd like to hear from you if consciously you choose will you choose to be raw? I don't ask you to give me a swear that I will be raw. I'm just asking, if you would have a chance to be raw, would you take that chance?
Yes.
Raise your hands. Would you take that chance? So are you consciously making that decision? Are you maybe under influence of some substance? Making this decision, and maybe you hypnotized? Are you really present? You find you're doing it consciously and sincerely, not under pressure from anybody. So you choosing, actually you would like to choose to be raw. You would love to be raw. If it's easy, then you'd love to be raw. That's what you want. Is it your true decision? Is it your true wish? Okay. Then I'd like you to write on your green or yellow card 3 main reasons why you want to be raw. Why? Why is that? Can I ask somebody brave to share with us 3 personal reasons why you want to be raw? Or even 1 reason? Anybody wants to share why you want to be raw? Why you want to be raw?
I'd like to be raw because I've heard of these wonderful, the way in which you gain energy, you feel a whole lot better. And I just find as we get older and older, we just don't always feel as well. And that would be really big to me, to start feeling. I hear people say that they feel 10, 20 years younger. Like, I'd like to go for that.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wants to share? Yes, your name first, please.
My name is Alida, and I believe it will bring me more in tune and connected with my children.
Thank you. Good reason to go raw. Okay, so we figured out so far that cooked food addiction is a real thing, that we do have problems managing our food habits because of that addiction. And then we figured out that we really, in reality, we would love to be raw if we knew that it's possible. And now the third step will be finding, okay, step number 1, getting out of denial. Step number 2, clearly making decision that I want to be raw. Step number 3, to find that power in this reality, in this world, that could counteract this negative power of addiction. And we already tried to find this power inside of us when we decided. Have you ever decided to quit eating something? Have you ever decided to quit eating something? And then you figure out it didn't work. Because we couldn't find this power inside of ourselves. Our brain betrayed us. It was like a prostitute. Whenever you show him a piece of chocolate, it forgets what the word that it's given. So we now want to find that power outside. And we have here 125 friends who are willing to help and support you. So now I would like you to turn front row, first row goes, turn back to the second row, and third row, turn back to the fourth, and so forth, and meet your neighbors, and talk to each other, give your name to each other, and talk, and maybe you'll become sponsors of each other. You'll become raw food sponsors. I would like everybody tonight get a sponsor. I would want everybody walk away tonight with a sponsor. And if you already found somebody who you feel comfortable be sponsored with, vice versa, they're sponsored, he's your sponsor. Then you could go ahead and write on the back of your green card their cell phone number or home number. But if you didn't, let's continue. You could just look around and see, maybe you see somewhere where you don't shy, when you feel comfortable calling each other. You want to find somebody who has similar interests, similar illness, similar something. You don't have to be neighbors. You could live even in a different country. I'm a sponsor for one lady from Pennsylvania. She calls me twice a year. She's a raw food teacher. Everybody sometimes have a moment of weakness. Okay, and then I'll teach you how to be a good sponsor. Okay, so please right now find yourself somebody sponsor. Do you know what sponsor needs to do? Let me explain you what sponsor needs to do. I want to ask you, for 2 months, every time you think about cooked food, you call your sponsor, and sponsor will help you to stop thinking about cooked food. So for 2 months, if you would decide to go longer, you could do it longer, but usually it's only necessary within the first week or so. If you'll be able to conquer all your temptations. With the help of your sponsor during the first week, you'll know how to treat it in the future, unless there's some unusual circumstance will come. Then it will be very rarely, but you will need to call your sponsor. You know why it works? Because your brain will betray you, but your sponsor, he won't betray you. Your sponsor already promised you to be dedicated to your decision. I want to remind you a story of Odysseus. He's a famous adventurist and sailor. He was sailing through Adriatic Sea, and there were the sirens on one island. And when the sirens will begin to sing, and anybody will see them, the person will fall in love with them and follow, and then this person will die, will never come back. So Odysseus, he was famous, he was king, and he wanted to see these sirens, but he didn't want to die. So he asked his sailors to tie him to the ship. So they tied him to the very front of the ship. And then he ordered them all to close their eyes, close their ears, and just, not to untie him no matter what happens. And when he heard and saw the sirens, he started to beg and order and yell at the sailors, "Untie me! Just disregard my previous order. I want to go after them." But they didn't do that. And he was all bleeding because he was trying to get away from these ties. And after they passed this Sirens Island, he said, "Thank you. You saved my life. I am the only living person who heard the sirens but didn't die." So basically your sponsor is the person there. It's like anchor for you. Somebody who will stay sober no matter what and will be talking you from eating that piece of cooked food, who will always remind you of benefits of raw food, and this person will keep reminding you that you were the one who made the decision to stick to raw. And let's go through one traditional way of talking. For example, I'm walking in my office, and I've been 3 days raw, and my boss is offering me candy there. And so I took a candy and I brought it to my desk, and I just put it in and this candy really doesn't let me work. It's sitting there and it's magnetizing me, hypnotizing me. So I'm calling my sponsor saying, "You know what? My boss just came from England, and he brought this McCartney special candy that I'll never have a chance to try. And I think that I'm capable of just eating that candy and continuing my raw food diet. But because I promised that I'll call you, I'm calling you. So what do you say?" And so what does sponsor say? Sponsor first says, "Close the desk and just don't look at the candy, so just it's out of your sight. And can I ask you, how long have you been raw?" And I say, "Well, I've been raw 2.5 days. So how do you feel?" "Oh, I feel so good." Oh, sponsors, you need to focus attention on positive side. So you always want to emphasize, "So how do you feel?" And when they say good, you say, "Oh, really? Oh, how wonderful." You kind of let them talk about that, okay? And those who the other side, you just keep saying, "Oh, yeah, I feel so good. It was so wonderful. I was so proud of myself. I was so happy that I was raw for 2.5 days. My headaches is gone. I don't take any painkillers." And then the sponsor is asking over the phone, "So do you have your card on you?" I say, "Yeah, I do have my card on me." "So what's the first number there?" "Oh, it says, well, I have this illness. I have these horrible allergies that don't let me exist. So how is your allergy during this 2.5 days?" "Oh, fantastic. My allergies are just completely almost gone. I don't even take any more medicine, and it's just wonderful." Now, do you realize that this chocolate, McCartney chocolate, could completely jeopardize your whole being so well, doing so fine? Do you remember what Victoria said in the class, that if you will just try once, you would want to try again? Well, audience, do you understand that when somebody already said something positive, so positive, and then we begin to speak about a piece of chocolate, that sounds kind of ridiculous? Do you understand that? So when you bring this and make this positive emphasis, and then you just suddenly ask about, "So how about that piece of chocolate?" You will already see that really it's your brain made it like big. It's really small. It's really, what it's going to do to you? It's going to put you down. All your efforts. Would you like that? Okay, what's second on your card? Oh, I really don't want my children to take care of me like I did took care of my parents. That's an important one. Is it still important to you? Oh, yes, it's so important to me. So do you understand that the chocolate is going to kind of create a big barrier for that? It's going to really create a problem? Yeah, I see. Now tell me, Victoria, can you do anything alternative? Oh, yes, I think I would go for a walk. Oh, you know what? I could go across the street to Noah's and drink some juice, or maybe some banana strawberry smoothie. Oh, I could run home really quick and, I have in the freezer some unchocolate truffles there. I'll just eat them instead. Well, you always could come up with the alternative. I'll ask my boss, give me a hug. How about that? And I give back him this candy. Oh, you know what? I have this cute secretary next door. I'll just give it to her. Because she's 18. She doesn't care about, diets. She'll just eat it. Well, come up with an alternative. So do you understand the idea? Okay, now I'd like to have 2 volunteers here. Somebody who have a sponsor. Okay, let me choose somebody intuitively. Okay, I'd like to choose you, please. You will be the one who is calling, and you will be their sponsor over the phone. Come here, you too, okay? Okay. And you will be speaking in this mic. This is your phone.
All right.
And will be your phone. Do you know each other's name? You have to speak in the bowl.
Marilyn?
Lisa. No, you just keep it like this, yeah. Okay, you call in her, and you describe the situation that could in reality happen in your life. What would be a challenge? So you just call about the challenge, and you almost have to kiss it.
Yes, okay.
Okay,
right.
You call her.
Okay, ring, ring.
Yes, hello, Lighthouse. May I help you?
I'm sorry? Who are you?
Lighthouse. Lisa speaking.
Oh, hello, Lisa. Okay, this is Marilyn, and I'm calling her because I've had a problem.
Yeah.
Okay? Lisa, I'm at the office this afternoon, and they're celebrating somebody's birthday, and I'm telling you, this cake is exactly the cake that I like to eat. So, and I'm really tempted. You know something? It can't be that bad just to have a little piece, right?
Well, did you have a good lunch?
Yes.
How did you feel?
Great.
Okay, first ask her how long she's been on raw food.
Okay. How long have you been on raw food?
A week.
Wow. How do you feel now?
I'm feeling better, for sure.
Yeah, better than last week.
Yes.
Much better.
Yes.
You like to be much better tonight or tomorrow?
She's good.
Yes.
So what should we do now? What's the problem now? What is the situation? What do you want to do?
You know, I was just thinking though, Lisa, really, to have a little piece of this, and then I can go right back on this thing, okay? I just want this cake.
Little piece of this and a little piece of that, then a little piece of what?
Yes. Do you have your card on you?
Huh?
Do you have your card on you?
Do you have your card on you?
Card, green card?
Yes.
The card that you wrote at your session,
yes,
right?
At my desk.
What did you write on the first line?
Oh my goodness. Okay, that I want to feel better.
Okay, so what do you want to do about that? Want to feel better? You did something about it, and what you would plan to do about it more? Do it a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
See?
She's gonna keep it up, so I might as well acquiesce.
So can you ask about alternative?
Yeah, what would you like to do to make you feel good now? To make you forget about that little piece of cake? Okay, what would
Maybe
be good
have
for
a
you?
Coffee.
Wow.
Just kidding, Lisa.
Another alternative, Marilyn. Another alternative. I'm merciful. Come on. Give me another one.
Okay.
Can you go
Well,
out?
I could go out for a quick walk. I love going out for walks, like maybe while...
Good. Is there a nice little place you can contemplate the sky and the green trees?
That's right.
Good sponsor.
Yes.
Dedicated.
Will you be my sponsor, Lisa?
I would be glad to be. I'd be glad. So I think you have overcome, right?
So what is...
Yes, I'm going for a walk. Yes.
Great. I'm very
you
happy.
tell her she welcome to call you anytime.
Okay, and yes, and even, she won't want to call me.
No.
Hey guys, they say you can call call me anytime.
I'll be glad to
because
come.
then I'll be strong, eh?
All right, together.
Thank you, Lisa.
God bless you. Bye.
Thank you very much. So, did you get an idea how it works? Okay, if you don't have a sponsor, find one. I would like you to turn to your sponsor and play the situation right now, like we did on the stage. I would like you to play it. Okay, don't forget to use the green card, and remember to keep on the positive side, because if you really came here with intention to learn how to stay raw, that is a very important step. And if you're going to do this, if you're going to use it, if you're going to break through your shyness and being modest, and if you really do that, it almost guarantees to you that you're going to stay. It's going to make it much easier. It's something that helps. It's your anchor outside that will keep you floating in raw food. If you will just decide, well, I'm strong enough, if I decide I'm going to do willpower, I've never met even one person who was able to do it just by willpower alone. Never even met who was able to do it long time enough. And sooner or later, something happens, some stress. Okay, so I really encourage you to use your sponsorships. It's like you already members of CFA, Cook Food Anonymous, so you got a sponsor. If you don't like to use your personal sponsor, and if you can afford it, you can hire a professional psychologist to do that for you. They'll charge you about, I don't know, $60, $70 an hour, and you tell them, I want to be able to call you anytime, and you just talk me from eating cooked food, and they'll do it for you. You just keep paying, they'll do it for you professionally. You can do that too, another option. But now you got free sponsor for each other. You have it. The next step is how to learn to make raw food delicious. Well, Igor is making their table that they will bring in, and I'll be showing you how to make food deliciously. I want to assure you that you can make food very delicious. I personally stopped telling people my food is raw 6 years ago. And it all started with catering one raw wedding. When we just came to Ashland, and I didn't have a job, and I really, really needed some cash. All we had is our backpacks, and in the storage we had the machinery. And then somebody called and said, I heard you're a good chef. I said, sure. And they didn't tell me raw chef. I said, can you cater for a wedding? I said, sure. And I felt it would be unethical for me to even think about making cooked wedding, cooked catering. So I decided I'm going to make them raw catering, and it will be a challenge for me. But I thought, well, we'll see what will happen. And so I made a 3-tier wedding cake, and I made beautiful finger foods, and I made like a pig. The pate was like a pig, like a fried pig, and it was very funny. And it had lots of cucumbers around it and sunflower in the middle. And so we just made lots of food, beautiful sundaes and beautiful smoothies and lots of candies. And when they came, they were just very, very excited about how colorful was the table. It was very gorgeous. And everybody started reception, and I do, and they were doing everything. And then, maybe an hour later, I was already washing dishes in the kitchen. We rented a cafeteria for that, and then they sent a child in the kitchen, and the child said they want a chef out. And I thought, uh-oh, I hope they don't ask for money. I already spent the money. And I came out, and they look at me, just like you now, and they say, can you tell us what's in the food? And I said, what's special about this food? It's so different. Well, it's good. And I thought, oh. But they say it's so different. Is it Russian food? They said, what kind of herb did you put in it? All the dishes. And I was thinking, if I say it's raw food, they'll panic because they think, oh, salmonella, meat. So I just thought, what do? I say, come into the kitchen. And I showed them how I just made this garden burger. And I showed them how I made this candy. And they forgot about the bride and the groom. And they took pieces of napkins and they started to write on somebody's back. Wait a minute, what did you just put there? How much did you just put nuts there? What kind of equipment is that? Where can I learn about that? They were not health seekers. They were just regular people They never ever read any health article in their life. But they loved how they felt. And they liked how it tasted. And they were very interested. And from that wedding, I had a big class in Ashland. And they said, can you teach my wife how to make this food? I want to eat this food all the time. Because the food was delicious. And if the food is delicious, who would say anything against? Like, this gentleman is afraid that on his Thanksgiving the food won't be as competitive as it could be on cooked food. Well, it could be. Just put more ginger there, more lemon juice, more garlic, more stuff, more different tastes, more flavors. Make it delicious. And I'm sure you have recipes already. Okay, so you absolutely can make food delicious. Also, in your household, don't start introducing raw food to your household with the wheatgrass juice and energy soup. Learn when you learn to make something more palatable, because people sometimes don't care if it looks like your blood and it's like really full of magnesium or calcium. In your household, they want it to be, first of all, comforting and delicious and feeling safe to eat, not like something like atomic. For example, one simple recipe is a smoothie is 1 orange and 1 banana. Of course, you peel them first. And you just blend orange first and then put banana in there. Banana could be fresh, could be frozen. And that is delicious smoothie, out of this world, to live for. Delicious. Now, it's very important how you serve it. Don't pour that smoothie in the old coffee mug which says Grandma loves you with broken handle. You go to garage sale and buy for 25 cents some nice clear glasses, and you pour your smoothie in a nice glass, put some colorful straw and a colorful fruit on the side, and don't call it raw food. Say dessert, say celebration, special occasion. Hey kids, come here in the kitchen. And when they try it and they say, Mom, do you have more? Are there any seconds? Say, oh, this is so good. Then you could whisper raw food. Let them know that raw food is something so wonderful, that it always ends so fast and everybody wants it. And do you know how to become really good raw food chef? I can tell you the secret right away. I actually went around and asked many raw food chefs who are famous how they became raw chefs, and they all told me the same story. One day they appeared to be without any recipes in the kitchen and without even all the ingredients, and they had to, there's no choice, had to make this dish. And they didn't even have all the ingredients, and they didn't have recipe. So they brainstormed and made it. And then it was so easy, they were so surprised. It's so easy to make raw food, delicious and in any texture, that since then they never used even one recipe in their life. They use recipes as guidance. So if I would be a good teacher, I would lock you in your kitchen without no mercy, without any recipes, and with just some ingredients, and say, until you make soup, savory potato, and cookie dough, I'm not letting you out. And then wait and wait and wait, and when you're crying, and then you stop crying, and then you begin to make this food, and you made soup and taste, wow, it's not bad. And then you make savory potato and you say, wow, it works. And then you make cookie dough, which is only 2 ingredients. in something, crust for the cake or candy, just 2 ingredients. How could it be difficult if it's just 2 ingredients? It's nuts and dry fruits. Just blend them together. That's all. That's your raw candy. And you change their flavors by choosing different nuts or different dry fruits. And that makes different candy for every day. You can stuff your fridge with those candies. So you always could run to there and grab one and eat that. And there's so much of raw food today that you could make. My friend even created pink salmon out of raw food. One lady said, well, if you come up with the pink salmon made from veggies to me, for me. Then I could live on raw food, but this is the only thing I miss from the non-vegan, non-raw food. So my friend peeled baby aloe vera and soaked it in carrot juice with dulse for 3 days. It became pink, it became fishy. Dulse is a sea vegetables. And it had the same texture, and it tasted just like pink salmon. You just have to be creative. There are all kinds of textures in the raw world, so you could do anything. Unfortunately, the resistance to raw food has been created by raw fooders, not by other people who eat cooked food. Because we raw fooders, we're too pushy sometimes. We like to put pressure. We like to criticize people and advise them to go on raw food. How would you like if somebody will tell you what to do? If somebody say, hey, you need to go to different church. Hey, you're too skinny, you need to start jogging. Hey, you too something else, you need to do that and that. How do you feel? Can we name me 4 emotions? Insulted, yeah. How else? Angry. Hurt. One woman resentful. One woman in LA said, I just want to kill that person. So that's how we do. We just come from the raw food class to our household and say, hey, I'm a raw foodist here. Don't eat that crap in front of me anymore. And then they begin to feel resentful and hurt and just don't feel like they're lower human beings, like they're treated not equally. So I think on the other hand, if we will be what raw fooders are, if we will be loving and hugging and smiling and joking and energized and healthy, raw fooders, that's the way they are. And never arguing and always communicating, non-violently communicating. Who can say, no, I don't like it? Which husband will say, well, I don't want my wife being non-violent communicating, I want back my violent wife? No. Which wife will say, hey, I want my husband to have red face and shaky hands again and headache every other day? No. We love when our loved ones are smiling and hugging and loving and not hurting. We like it. Who would say no to that? Let's just agree that we wouldn't insult other people. I heard many times this phrase, don't tell me you have headache. If you would listen to me a long time ago, you would never have headache. Have you heard this one? That is very insulting to say that. Or something like, when people call other people's food junk food and garbage food, this is also insulting. Because if I'll tell you, hey, you have junk clothes on you, it's insulting, right? If I say, hey, you have garbage piano in your house, that's insulting. I say, hey, your Mercedes is junk. You will say, well, I'm insulted. I'm going to call you on a duel. But why do we say that? Well, you're still eating that junk? Well, that's like acceptable. I think it's not acceptable, okay? So, if we want to live in peace with the cooked world, we have to, first of all, be accepting. We shouldn't go into what's called codependency. When we're trying to change the world instead of changing ourselves, that's called codependency. You can change only one person in the world. No matter how hard you try, only one person in the world. Who is that? Yourself. But if you will concentrate on yourself, we can change the world. Do you agree? And you have unlimited power over that person. So concentrate on yourself. Is there anything you can improve in your own self? Can you improve, or are you already perfect? Can you work on yourself more? Everybody are asking you. Can you work on yourself? So do you have energy to continue? Okay, keep working. And let's not work in somebody else's garden. Let's work in our own, okay? And then it's going to work. How to say no, that's a big one. Many people quit eating cooked food because they didn't know what to do. How many of you quit eating raw food because you didn't know how to say no to your loved ones? Raise your hands up higher, higher, higher. Thank you, thank you. Okay, imagine your mother has made you a pie. Imagine your ex-mother-in-law made you an apple pie. And she brought it to you and it looks really good. And she said, hey, Elaine, I want to give it to you. I made it specially for you. I went shopping, I bought the best organic ingredients, and I made it specially for you because I remember how you loved it. Well, do you think saying no to her will really hurt her feelings? What do you think? Okay. Most likely, it depends how you say. So, let's make analysis. What is her goal? Is her goal actually your digesting of the cake? That the cake really actually gets into your system and you digest it and then you go to the bathroom? That's your goal? That's her goal? What's her goal? Her goal is to make you happy, right? Her goal actually is to show you that no matter what happened between you and somebody, she still loves you. Is there any way for you to acknowledge that without even eating the cake? How can we acknowledge that other person? How can we acknowledge other person's love and attention? Let's try to say 3 sentences to that mother-in-law that will acknowledge her effort. Can you come up with something? For example, Mother, I'm so moved. Try not to just say thank you. Try to explain, to describe your feelings, your emotions that you're going through when you see her giving you that cake. Emotions. Describe it to her so she pictures how you feel and she will feel happy. Say, I'm so moved when I think about you going and buying it, especially for me in an organic store. I'm so deeply touched. I see how you love me. Can I please give you a hug? Can you please create at least 3 sentences? Let me ask several people. Can you come up with 3 sentences that you say to your mother-in-law who made you, ex-mother-in-law, who made you apple pie that you used to love? Don't say that you're not going to eat it. Just give me 3 sentences because we'll continue after that. I really want to be honest and touching. I want you to say something that will touch her heart and she will feel that she didn't waste her time, that she really broke through. And, the ice is broken and you really feel very thankful to her. So what should you say? Can you please come up with 3 sentences? Any? Yes?
I'm so glad that you still think of me, even though I am not your son.
That's very touching. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else, please? See, that's the problem. We only know one thing. We just take it and eat it. Does it guarantee that she will understand and believe you that you love her? No. So we need to learn how to speak out how we feel. So I want you to practice to say, to acknowledge that we love what you, your boss is giving you candy. You want to say that you appreciate his attention, okay? Your neighbor is bringing you something. You want to say, oh, really, I'm so thankful to you. I feel like I'm honored. I feel like I'm special. I feel like I'm loved. We only practice the first part. First part is acknowledgement. The second part is saying firmly no, and the third part is coming with alternative. But we only practice in the first part because that's how it's supposed to sound altogether. Oh, Mother, I'm so happy, I'm so moved, I'm so touched that you went to so much trouble just for me, like I'm so important to you. You went to the store and you bought all these things and you prepared this delicious, how do you call this, a beautiful cake, and it looks so good. It's wonderful. I'm absolutely honored. But I don't eat cooked food anymore. How about I come earlier tonight home and you and I will get together in the kitchen and I'll bring ingredients and we'll make raw apple pie that I have recipe. How about that? Can she ever say no? And why would she say no? But the first thing you have to really emphasize, the first part. The second you say firmly with a smile and quickly, and very quickly go to alternative. So while she's offering you cake, you think, okay? Can somebody practice, let's say, what's your favorite food?
Chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse, okay. Dear Judy, you have been selected to taste chocolate mousse at our chocolate factory for a year, and you'll be paid millions of dollars. Okay, what do you say? Okay, remember 3 things. No joking. Honestly, what do you say? 3 sentences minimum to acknowledge.
It's a wonderful opportunity, but I...
No. 3 sentences. You have to emphasize minimum 3 sentences. It's not enough.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for thinking of me, and I'm moved and touched.
The honor.
How could you choose me? It's amazing. Just keep going.
Yeah, how could you choose me? I really appreciate that.
And then firmly with a smile quickly. But
I'm no longer eating chocolate.
How about you offer it to my friend Cindy? Or how about I will be we'll prepare some raw and chocolate and we'll taste it for your factory. There are lots of raw food now in town. You be creative, okay? See, that is the formula that will never offend anybody. And you could say as many sentences, good job, in the beginning as possible, and that will enhance your entire life, not only the raw food part of your life. Because sometimes we need to say no. Do you remember how we teach our children? Just say no. Okay, we just tell them, just say no. We put it on their pencils and then the posters, we say, just say no. Do we teach them how to say no? Do they see example how we say no when we always say yes to whatever we want? So sometimes we have to say no. I would like here some volunteer who has some other weakness in the cooked food, like you really love to eat some cooked food and you would like to stop eating that. Is there anybody like that? What is your name?
Amy.
Amy, and what is your food?
Sushi.
Sushi? Mm-hmm. Where do you buy it?
Sushi Rock up at Yonge and Eglinton.
Did you hear that?
It was Sushi Rock up at Yonge and Eglinton, and about 2 to 3 weeks ago I went and I picked out on 2 spicy tuna rolls and I crashed like you wouldn't believe after, because I had been totally raw during the week, usually for a couple of weeks, and I was out. Like a light, like somebody had to put a blanket on me and everything. I was so tired.
Okay, so stay here. I would like you to challenge Amy with different offers that's hard to deny. Offer her free membership in the sushi club, offer her cruise with sushi, offer her anything, offer her free, the coupons for a month, whatever, lots of sushi, that offer her position there, offer her to inherit sushi bar, anything that's hard to deny. And don't joke, don't ever say, yeah. That's a serious thing we're doing here. Your job is to say 3 things. Long thank you and appreciation, and then brief and very positive, I don't eat sushi anymore, and then alternative. And if you want to take a peek in the kitchen for a second, it will give you an idea what I mean. Look there. Look there. See? Ooh. Sushi.
Sushi roll. The raw.
Okay, so please come up with your questions louder. And don't forget to call her Amy, so she feels it personal. Okay, please.
I was going to say, because you've been such a long-standing customer of Sushi Rock, so loyal, coming here every week, we'd love to give you a lifelong pass to have sushi delivered straight to your doorstep once a week.
Okay, let's see if Amy will figure out what to answer to that.
Bring.
Oh my God, you're kidding. I'm so pleased. I can't believe that I've been offered this opportunity. And about 3 weeks ago, I probably would have taken you up on it. I'm really, really pleased. But unfortunately, today I've decided... Fortunately, I've decided to not eat sushi anymore.
Don't say I decided. Say it's like it's a fact. I don't eat sushi anymore, period.
I no longer eat sushi.
How about
I set up the table and teach you how to make raw sushi, totally raw. Or
if you're really so loyal to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say?
That sounds like a really interesting option.
Okay. Very good. Oh, somebody else wanted to? Yeah, you're not there yet. Just a minute. We need to create the patch. Please, somebody, please. Yes, Erica?
Amy, I would like to offer you, or I'm offering you, a 2-week flight and stay in Hawaii on the wonderful island of Kauai, and you can have wonderful fresh sushi.
Sushi in Hawaii.
Sushi in Hawaii, luau's, and wonderful dancing and music.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing, amazing opportunity, and I'm very thankful that you're giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, that's 2. You need to say minimum 3.
Oh,
so smooth, so
touched, pleased. I can't express how thankful I am that you're offering
good
this
enough.
to me. However, I no longer eat sushi, but I would love to come to Hawaii and show you how to make.
She's getting better and better. Okay, thank you, Erica. What do you say? What do you say?
Well, I have heard so much about the raw food diet. I would really like to learn. I think Hawaii would be a perfect place.
Sounds good.
And so one more. She needs one more. Really creative one. Yes.
No, I always thought sushi is a raw fish.
But there's rice in it, and that's cooked, and it's full of sugar.
Okay, so please. She's good, yeah. One more. Anybody creative person here? One person, please. Yes.
Hi, Amy. A bunch of us I'm Amy's friend here, and a bunch of us are going out tonight for sushi, and I'd like if you can come along. It's my birthday, and we're celebrating my 30th birthday.
Who's paying?
And actually, yeah, my boyfriend's paying for everybody, so it's like all you can eat sushi.
Thank you very much, Mary. I really appreciate it. Sounds like a fantastic time, and I'm really thankful that you're inviting me to come out with all your friends. However, I no longer eat sushi rolls, but I would love to come and partake of the sushi salad, or seaweed salad, the seaweed salad, because that's totally raw.
Wonderful. Okay, now we want somebody who will play devil advocate here. Erica, come here, please. Erica, I want you to seduce Amy and say something like, come on, you're not a nun. You can allow yourself sometimes a little pleasure. You've been working so hard. You've been not eating sushi already for 2 months. Well, a little piece wouldn't hurt. Victoria is not here already. Nobody will know. And you interrupt her and say, no, but then I would feel, and you describe how you feel. I don't want to do it. A little piece will make me eat more. And you can see, come on. Life is about pleasure. Whatever you think. Yeah, okay? And I'll give you my little ball. Okay, we'll see who'll win.
Now, Amy, you have come to Hawaii and you have showed us how to make live food sushi, and it's wonderful, but we just had somebody bring in fresh tuna just off the boat. It will be so wonderful. It will just melt.
With rice. With rice
and wonderful wrappings.
I'm really sorry, Erica, but I really can't do that. I remember that one time when I totally crashed. I was so tired. It was awful.
But perhaps that was old tuna, and the rice had been overcooked.
But I felt so bad in the morning.
Have you ever had really raw fresh tuna straight from the boat?
With the rice?
Fresh out of the ocean, and the rice was
organic.
Just cooked. Organic.
No, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I really felt bad for days afterwards. And I even took tons of enzymes, and it was still bad.
Okay, I think she wins. Okay, can you, just the last thing I wanted to do, Amy, can you describe to everybody how you feel now? Do you feel more prepared to withstand your willing to eat sushi?
Well, that was really fun, actually. That was good to do, and I would really.
Do you feel like you have prepared now?
Yeah, it was really
good exercise.
It was very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before we will have a break, I would like you to turn to each other on your raw and practice that. And it is very important that you not just talk about the dinner, about the weather, but you really do the homework. That's the homework. That's a step. It's very important that you learn how to say no. Otherwise, you cannot stay raw. Almost, okay? So please practice. Every single person. Otherwise, you won't pass. Please practice. When you eat in somebody's house, you always bring with you your own food. And I've learned that I have to bring 2 plates because my plate goes first. When they put everybody's food on the table, my food, everybody wants to eat first, even they say they don't like it. But then I have nothing else to eat, so I always bring 2 plates now. One I put right away and one when I'm beginning to eat. Well, and usually in any house there is a banana or apple or something, usually salad. And for this reason I gave you the restaurant card. Open page, is it 3 or 4? Page 4? Did you see the restaurant card?
Oh, yes.
Okay. What we did in Ashland, Oregon, we got together, about 50 people, enthusiasts of raw food. We have many more people who eat raw food, but enthusiasts, maybe core group. And then we agreed that we'll go to copy place and order, create different colors, like pastel colors, rainbow colors, business cards with our name on one side and this text on another side. And then we have divided Ashland into sections, and we decided to go to all the restaurants with this card in 1 week. And so after manager received so many cards in 1 day, which say what that says, within a week, Mongolian barbecue started to have raw dishes only by previous order. Or Ashland Bakery and Cafe has always seed cheese and crackers, pizza by separate order. They started to have raw food menu there. They started to have raw food dishes. Now you go in Ashland restaurants, they have different raw food dishes. Can you do that here? Are you together enough to do something like that? Because they're very sensitive to the demand. If a manager would come, waitresses would come to manager and say, hey, people keep asking me for their raw food, they keep bringing those cards, they will react. They'll at least create some kind of dressing, raw dressing and a salad for you. And when you give this card to the regular chef who is making food every day, even in Chinese store, they don't have anything raw on the menu, but whatever they make comes from raw food. They just cook it. The chefs, they're so tired of their routine, they love the challenge. And they bring to me the most incredible dishes, like mounds, like a pyramid of all different colors, big, much bigger than what it costs in the menu, like $2.99. And I make sure I whisper to the waiter, I say, just tell chef I'll send him a little tip too, if he be creative. It works. Okay, did I answer your question? Good. So we could keep going. The next step would be to get additional activity or hobby. When you will go on raw food, if the fantasize you've been on raw food a couple months, you'll notice that you begin to sleep less. How many of you notice you sleep less on raw food? Anybody here? So you'll have more time. You'll have more energy. And not right away, but eventually you'll have more money too. In the beginning you'll have to spend some time on appliances, but then eventually you will be spending less because you will be eating less things. And the appliances that you buy, they will last for a lifetime. So you will be spending little. Because I eat so little, I could go and buy the best organic food for myself because I only eat 1 thing or 2 things per day. That I can afford it. I was thinking that I spend much, but when my brother came from Russia and I went and bought food for him because he didn't have no money, I was amazed how expensive is cooked food. I was just amazed how much I spent, and they will just eat it quickly. I become hungry again. It's just amazing. So you will have more time, more money, and more energy. I'm sure you know what to do with extra money. But more time and more energy really becomes a problem, because when people have extra time, they don't know what to do with that. In regular everyday life, our life has been created, shaped by the society in such a way that the most valuable time of your life is taken to work for some kind of corporation or some kind of a business. And then you have just little leftovers for yourself, where you could just watch TV, do your laundry and clean your house, go to church and take care of your children. And whenever in our real life we have extra time, or extra day, what do? Can you honestly tell me? Thank you, we eat. Yes. Whenever we have day off, we make a special celebration, we eat. Whenever we have several hours extra, we go in the kitchen. It seems like to be the most magnifying place in our house that is really drawing our attention all the time. If you begin to eat all the time when you have extra time, you will inevitably get off raw food. So, for this reason, you need to find yourself some new activities that you'll be doing in this free time, something really fun, something that's of great interest to you. When people begin to have extra energy, they don't realize that the energy that they gain is not just physical energy. This energy comes on different, multiple levels. They gain mental energy and they gain spiritual energy, and people begin to feel spacey. Have you ever heard that people on raw food begin to feel spacey? They begin to feel overwhelmed. When we're born, we come into this life with so much different kind of energy. We equipped with energy that helps us to understand what is our spiritual mission. We have energy that helps us to see how people feel about us, the energy that helps us to love others and feel one with the whole world, the energy that helps us to sense, how do you feel about me? Do you love me? Are you honest with me? Are you suffering? Are you tortured? Or maybe you lying to me? That is all part of our mental and spiritual energy. And I don't believe we could even guess what we're supposed to do in our life if we don't have that kind of energy. We could only try logically to figure this out, but it will be all wrong. So when you begin to stay raw all the time, you begin to get this energy. And it's absolutely essential that you find out things that you can do in that time. Many of us already been dreaming of many things that are very close to what we're supposed to do. So I want to give you some ideas. How many of you have been dreaming of writing a book and never had enough time and energy and money to write? Yeah. How many of you have been dreaming to take voice lessons? How many of you have been dreaming to take dance lessons? Art lessons? How many of you have been dreaming to learn another language? How many of you have been dreaming to hike or bike or horse ride, back ride across some country, maybe across Sweden or Austria or something? How many of you were dreaming to have more time to spend with your children, with any children? How many of you wanted to volunteer somewhere? How many of you wanted to spend time doing organic garden? To meditate and do yoga? To do all kinds of exercise like Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts? How many of you have been dreaming to buy metal detector and go to the ocean and look for collectibles? How many of you have been dreaming to take nonviolent communication course from Marshall Rosenberg whenever he's in town? How many of you were dreaming to take very interesting courses, but you never had enough time, energy, and money? When you go on raw, that's the time of your life when you could do all these things. Now I would like to ask to testify some raw fooders have been on raw food more than several weeks, that you actually have been doing some extra things that you didn't do before. Anybody wants to testify?
Ever since I am on the raw food diet, in the beginning before I taught, I found I had much more time on my hands. So I began doing art more intensely, and I spent more time journaling. Now I find I have less time because the demands are much bigger than when it's teaching the raw food diet. But I do have more time to do that because I wake up at 5 o'clock and I get out of bed and I...
And your energy is not like when people come from work at 5 o'clock, they're completely drained, usually on cooked food. Yeah. So after 5 you still have so many hours.
Yeah, I can go until 10 o'clock and I'm fine. But then I go to bed and I tell you I can sleep. And the sleep is of such a quality, it just doesn't compare.
I would suggest that if you're serious about going raw, on the way back tonight, stop by and get some from community college, some schedule of events, or take some free magazine that tells about all kind of different clubs and whatever going on here in Toronto, and look for something that really sounds very good to you, and begin to take classes like how to write and illustrate children's books. This is a very interesting class that I took, wonderful. And voice lessons, I really suggest. When I used to have retreats retreats, I would always invite a person who will teach voice lessons to the whole group, and people never even knew that they loved to take voice lessons. And then when I asked to evaluate, then in the end they would always said that that was everybody's favorite thing in the whole retreat, this voice lesson from all the other entertainment. So please pay attention that that's a very important step, and it's easy to do, and it's very pleasant to do, and just don't miss it, okay? And I think now we are to our spiritual steps, okay? So, to follow your heart, I heard this saying, these words, follow your heart, so many times, and I never really listened to it. It didn't ever come through. And the first time I heard about this, when I asked Dr. Jensen, when I told you that when my mother was dying from bone cancer, and then her last words were, I wasted my whole life. When her phrase really dramatically moved me and my husband, and then we were thinking, we are wasting our life. I'm wasting my life. How do I supposed to live my life? And I was having so many questions, and I remember I had the question, how to make a choice in life. And I remember I asked that question Dr. Bernard Jensen. I said, how do you make choices? And he was such a sweet and sincere person, and he said, oh, that is easy. I said, to make choices easy? And he said, oh yes. I said, so how do you do that? He said, you just ask your heart, and your heart, not your brain, your heart will tell you what you need to do. Your brain might be very, very against it, but do what your heart tells and you'll never make a mistake. And somehow this time I heard him. And then I shared it with Igor, and I shared it with my children, and we discussed it, and we were all fascinated by how simplicity of that. And right next day after that, there was it was in San Diego area, there was a presentation. Some doctor was teaching how to do long time hikes. And then he was saying that for every 100 miles you have to eat 2 pounds of M&Ms. Otherwise you'll have too little carbohydrates and you will become too skinny. And every time you cross a little village or little town, you have to go and eat 2 gallons of ice cream. And every time you turn around in your sleep, you have to take a bite from Power Bar. Otherwise you'll just lose too much weight. The problem of losing weight is very, very big in hikers. Many hikers, 2,000 hikers attempted every year to do the hike, and only 200 finished. The rest of them, most of them, stop because they lose too much weight. And we were listening to this doctor. We started to have this excitement inside of our hearts. And I looked at Igor and I read in his eyes, we're going. And we looked at our kids and we read in his eyes, we're going too. We knew we're going on some kind of a hike. We didn't know where exactly and when. The only question I had was will it be this year, which will be like in 2 months, or next year? And then somebody else took the mic and he said how much it costs to take a hike, and he said it takes minimum $2,000 per hiker to do a hike, and we didn't have no money. In fact, we maybe had $5. We didn't have no equipment, no gear, no shoes, nothing, and no supplies. Well, the raw food community of San Diego were so excited about us going on a hike as a family on a raw food diet that they said, we'll do fundraising for you. We'll let you do the dinner and we'll just send a head around. So from the dinner and from the head, we got $800. We were able to buy some important gear like compasses. The date people donated us dates, second standard quality dates, middle dates, 5 dates per person per day. And I read in the book about Thailand monks that they eat 5 dates per person per day. And I thought, well, if they survive on 5 dates per day, we should be able to. At least we have minimum. So, and then Some raw fooders in the Napa Valley in San Diego, they traded massage with Igor for some equipment. If you ever heard of Helene Ideals, who is the godmother of raw food of San Diego, she gave me her own sleeping bag. And so if you look at the picture in Raw Family, the very first picture at the Mexican border, where we just stand in our first day ready to go, you'll see that we all stand in there bare feet. Have you noticed that? Yes. We didn't have any shoes. We couldn't afford shoes. We decided we're not going to need the big shoes, like, you know, with $500 professional shoes, plus they're so heavy. We wanted Teva sandals, but they $100 a pair. So we started we felt like we were just drawn to hike. We felt like we have to go. Now, the year that we've chosen was El Nino. Our brain was telling us, "You crazy, how can you go in El Nino year? It's going to be 75% rain." But we just couldn't stop. We knew we were going. Now, we were staying with our friend Wayne Shelton. We were supposed to be. We were scheduled. We had schedule. And we sent the mail drops along the way according to schedule. We were supposed to leave on the 15th of April, but we left on the 3rd of April in the pouring rain under cats and dogs raining. And we said, "So take us to the trail." And he said, "Well, you don't have to go. There are 2 more weeks, and it's raining, guys. Are you not comfortable in my house?" And we said, "Don't ask us." And I remember how Igor said, "Well, we're going to get wet anyway, so who cares? It doesn't make no difference." So Wayne took us on the trail and waved us goodbye, and we went in the rain. And we didn't have rainproof coats, so we were wearing garbage bags, plastic garbage bags. And so we were hiking for 2 weeks like we were dedicated to do something. We didn't know what was that. And in 2 weeks, we came right in time to meet the man who was committing suicide on the hot spring. There was a man sitting in the warm tub with a razor blade right to his wrist at the moment when we appeared. And it's interesting that after that we kind of slowed down. So when we came in, Sergei was the one who found him. And we were working around campfire, and suddenly Sergei comes from the bushes with a naked man. And he says, "Sorry, I didn't want to scare you." And Sergei whispered to me in Russian what was happening. So when Sergei found him in this hot springs, he didn't know what to talk about. He was at that time 12 years old. He started to talk about raw food. And suddenly this man was fascinated. And so he came and he said, "Your son told me something about raw food." And then he told us that he got this sickness. He was very, very ill person. And he was so tired of his pain that he decided to kill himself. And also he became depressed. And then he asked us, "Do you think raw food could help me?" And I said, "I'm sure it can. It helped anybody I know so far." And he said, "Would you go and live with me in my house for 3 days, not far from here, and teach me everything? I'll pay you really good money for that." Well, and of course, you know, we don't want you take it on your karma that somebody's going to kill himself. And so we said, "Yes, we go." And we taught him how to make different things, and he took us to different health food stores. It was funny. We were just walking through the wilderness, didn't hear any cars or anything, and here somebody's taking us to this, we taught him everything. I can only tell you that he's still alive and he's feeling better than ever. He doesn't have any pain. What was that? Okay, and then we continued. And we continued on the hike. And then soon, maybe another couple of weeks, I found on the trail Ziploc bag with $60 in it. There was 20, 20, and 20. And there was nobody around to ask, "Hey, who's that money?" So I decided it's ours. And then that night we got lost. We got in a very bad blizzard. It was a snowstorm. We were hiking up and it was 7,000 or 8,000 feet and it was so cold. It was snowstorm, and we lost the trail, and we were not even scared because we were so thinking about how we're going to get out of there. So I told everybody, hold the compass and let's go north, and it will bring us. We're not in the middle of wilderness. We're not in Siberia. We're just on a crest. So if we go north, we should hit the trail somewhere. So, and it was like in a Hollywood movie. Of course, our north way was going through the canyon. That was unavoidable. It was a long canyon, and far away below there was rocks, and there was water, river. And so here we are sliding, we're soaking wet. Our backpacks are so heavy and full of water, and we're sliding right in that canyon, in that water, and our children are yelling like, "Ah!" And I didn't even have fear. I remember that I really understood that they could die, we could die, and we didn't know what's going to happen, but we had the feeling that we just have to keep moving. And we crossed that cold river, and we crossed that canyon, we climbed, we already were all bleeding and cut, and on the other side it was already dark. We crossed it, we kept going north. 3 o'clock in the morning we crossed the road, intuitively went to the left, 2 blocks, we found the lodge. I knock at the door, say, "Do you have room?" She says, "The cheapest room I have is $60. We had warm bath, and we had $2, and she was selling Washington Delicious non-organic apples for $1 a piece, and we cut 2 apples into 4 pieces. That was the most delicious fruit in my entire life. We ate it all the way. And then it was like this all the time. We would always find somebody who would just need help, who was just searching information about raw food, or dreaming to meet a raw food teacher or something. It was just an amazing journey. When we came to Ashland, there was 40 feet of snow on the trail. We couldn't even see the tops of the trees. And so we lost the trail. And here we are coming inside of Ashland, Oregon, looking for the place where we could leave and wait for 6 weeks or so when the snow will melt. And we came into Hot Springs. That's where we live now, in the Hot Springs. And at the entrance, I'm asking the man, I said, "Do you know if they have any position here that we could take, any job that needs to be done in exchange for us just living here in the tent for 6 weeks? And the man appeared to be the owner. He said, "The only position we have is the chef in the kitchen." And I say, "Oh no, that wouldn't work for us. Let's come on, guys." And he says, "Why? You were so desperate a minute ago." I said, "You don't want to know. We're on a special diet." He said, "No, I insist. Tell me. I do want to know." And I told him we're on a raw food diet. And suddenly he said, "Hallelujah." I said, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And he said, "You know what, we just opened educational center. We purchased Vitamix, blender, and Cuisinart, and Champion juicer, and new covers from Cherry Tree, and new knives, and we wanted to open raw food restaurant, but we couldn't find any raw chef. We've been advertising in every newspaper, and all we got is a tofu dog chef." And finally we were staying, he said, a couple days ago, in a circle with the staff, and we were praying to God, "Lord, send our way some raw food chef." And I was very, very surprised, and I said, "Here we are, there are 4 of us." Now he looked at me closer, and we were wearing the shaded clothes that was so dear to us. We loved that shaded clothes. He said, "You raw food chefs, we look like hippies." With accent. And I said, "Just take me to the store, let's buy ingredients, and we'll make you something raw." He took me to now my favorite Ashland Co-op, and I said this, that. He paid for everything. After 3 months in the woods, my kids were so eager to work in familiar kitchen. They knew which button to push on it and every equipment, and we made beautiful meal. We made a big pate and a big salad and soup and dessert. And then all the staff came, and his wife and his children came, and we ate this food, and they tried it, and they said, "This is raw food. I never knew it could be so good. Here's the checkbook. Here's the key. Stay as long as you want. There are $2,000 for you if you need to buy any more equipment. And if you will make good money, we'll pay you salary." My dear friends, we turned this ashland upside down. We were so lonely in the forest. We were so missing people. And so suddenly we were now exposed to this beautiful ashland. My children were selling banana ice cream in every corner, on every corner in that ashland. And until now, 5 years later, everybody remembers, are you the one that was selling for $1 banana ice cream everywhere? That's how we exposed to ashland right away. We had the long line of apprentices in this raw cafe. We were making raw food all the time. We put through the account $5,000 in 6 weeks. And then when we were leaving back to the forest, we had already fully equipped kitchen with all the chefs. And they were just saying, please come back. And our hearts were singing, we would like to come back. And it was like this. When we finished our trail, we were eating mostly, we were foraging. We were eating 80% of our food were herbs. It was amazing how we were able intuitively to tell the poison from not from edible without no mistake. We were able to say how we interacted with animals. That was amazing. Valya met mother bear with cubs one-on-one twice. All kinds of snakes. Igor stepped on a snake twice on the same one. Like we just had amazing experience. But when we finished the trail, we only wanted to eat so much fruits because we were eating so much grain. I think we were so alkaline. We decided we're going to take a trip to San Felipe in Mexico. We know there's a market, and we thought we'll just inexpensively could eat papayas, mangoes, and then we'll come back to Ashland, and then we'll leave there, and just do something. And so we had this van, Astra van, that had 480,000 miles on the speedometer, on it. And so this van has been driving us since my mother passed away, since our business went crushed after that, and it never broke. All the handles were broken. You can only get into Igor's seat through my door. You can only open my window, from different side. All the gauges were broken. It couldn't show the speed, how much gas in it, or anything, temperature, nothing. But it was running. And so we came, and Igor said, he bought a garage sale for $1 bike. And he said, okay, we'll go to San Felipe, and I'll just ride around on a bike because there are not very many roads, and I'll figure out how we can survive there because we didn't have much money. And as soon as we came to the market, this man looked at the bike, the owner of the market, he said, sell me the bike. Igor says, no, I need it. He said, you know what, my grandson has birthday, and I need the bike, and I need just like that. And if you give me the bike, you can eat any food as long as you stay here. All right. So we stayed there for a week, and we were enjoying the best ripe mangoes and papayas and bananas and good stuff there. And a week later, we packed van to go and went to bed, and in the morning we woke up, and there's a green lake under our radiator in the morning. Uh-oh, empty radiator. And we're standing there, and we feel like we hiked enough already. We don't feel like hiking in that desert right now. And we're just thinking like, oh, if we could only make it somehow, I don't know how, to the American border, so we don't have to hike through that deadly desert. And Igor decided to start, and it started. I don't know how, but it started. We all jumped in the car, and he says, let's go as long as it goes, and then we'll just walk the rest. And it went 120 miles. And at the border, there was a long line, and all this fencing, Mercedes and BMWs were overheated on the side, and our car was standing in line, and it didn't overheat anymore, more than it was. And I said, Igor, maybe we should turn off and see, maybe it needs some more water. He says, I'm afraid if I'll turn it off, that it will not start. And here we are sitting there saying, what are we going to do in Mexicali? Mexicali is the place, it's just like Mexico, even if it's the United States. We don't know anybody there. We don't have no money. We really desperately need this car to go all the way to San Diego, where we have so many good friends. And so this made it. Another 150 miles. When it was going up the mountain, we were just sitting there, all four of us helping this car. And then we came to Escondido, and we were thinking, where should we go? Where should we go? Let's go to Mary Larson's place. Where does she live? Somewhere on Washington Avenue. Do you remember what's the crossing street? Nobody remembers. And as we go on Washington Avenue, the car died in front of her house. As we push in the car in her backyard, Mary opened the window and said, Boutenko's came! Her son appeared to be working for junkyard, and he sold the car next morning for $350. There was nothing left in that car. We decided if we ever buy another car, it has to be Astrovan. So we bought Greyhound tickets, and we're driving back. On the way out, we were supposed to do class in an empty house of Brooke Peterson, because she just moved into Florida, sold her house, and she offered this house for some raw fooders to do workshop. And calling her saying, I wouldn't be able to come because our car broke. We come home on our answer machine. I bought your car, I hope you like it, come and get it. I never met her before. I said, well, even if it's not Astrovan, I will accept it. So Igor and I drive, and we come to her house, and here's a new Astrovan in the driveway. And I said, Brooke, how did you do that? Why did you buy this car? And she said, I felt compelled. She said, I never did anything like this in my whole life. But as soon as I finished speaking with you, my old good friend called me, and her husband has a dealership, and she said, do you know any good person who needs a very good car? We just got this beautiful van, which 29,000 miles on it, only for 7,000, and it's in such a good condition, I really don't want to get anybody in it. And she just said, I just bought it. And with 0% we paid it to her in 1 year. And this car also lasted, and I still have it. I drive it in it when I come home. Well, we just had this amazing things happening to us when we came back home. Okay, and another woman is calling. She says, "Oh, I need support." Her name is Elizabeth Bechtel. She says, "I need support, and so I want my house to have some raw food workshops." And when we miraculously got this little trailer, we live in a trailer, okay? And we were sitting there and we were writing this book, Raw Family. And I said, Igor, we need to get kids to write something because they're growing up and then people will never know about our experience. So we're sitting there writing this book, and we wrote it like in 2 weeks. You know, and then I showed several people to check mistakes, and they said it was almost perfect. So I don't know, was it channeling or what? I don't know. And then I went to local designers and printers, and I evaluated how much will it cost to publish the book, and they said $14,000. And Igor said, I don't think that kind of money could just show up. And I said, well, let's see, we have to believe. And so then we come to this Elizabeth Bechtel to do this class. And again, it was the first time we met in person. And after this class, she and I washed the dishes. It's 11 o'clock at night. Everybody's gone. My husband is asleep. And suddenly she's asking me, did anybody back you up with the publishing of your book financially? I say, no. And we're washing dishes. And she's saying, do you want me to back you up? I said, sure. And she says, how much does it cost? And I say, $14,000. And she just said, she wrote me a check. And she didn't ask for any paperwork, anything. She just says, can you pay me in 2 years? I say, sure, I can. And when I brought it to my banker couldn't believe it. He said, where's the paperwork? What is that? He never saw in my account more than $300. Of course, we paid her back. And if you see the book Raw Family, it's dedicated to Elizabeth Bechtel. It says, without you, the book wouldn't be possible. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm just living a fancy life and I have anything I want. But whatever we need comes to us. And you know why? Because we started to follow our heart. I now know, and my husband knows, and our children know that if you found your way and if you follow in your heart, universe exists. There are some things in the world that we cannot comprehend by our brain, but universe will protect you. You'll be protected, and things will happen. And I want to ask you, did it ever happen to you that you heard about some kind of a workshop or some seminar, and your heart is telling you, oh, I want to go, but your brain says, forget it, you have already so many non-finished projects, you need to take care of this and that, okay, and you didn't go. And then those who did came back and told you, oh, that was that, and you said, oh, I wish I went. Did it happen to you? Or opposite. You did go. You didn't listen to your brain. You did go. And you wasted your last money that you couldn't waste. And then at that workshop, some opportunities came up. Then you actually earned more money and more things were happening there. Positive. Did it happen to you? That's what I mean. Because our brain is a product of this material world. And the only connection to the spiritual universe is our heart. And whenever you do anything, whenever you have a question, if you really listen to your heart, you can answer any question. Whether it's about food, what shall I eat, what shall I do, what should I do in my life, where should I go, should I or should I not, your heart never lies. And that's very important. Another important thing, which is another new step, is to gain clarity. We were educated in our life that knowledge is power. I disagree with that. I think knowledge is not even information. Knowledge is somebody else's opinion of information, and somebody else's opinion is always distorted. Would you like to have lots of opinions in your head? And in fact, those opinions, then they sit in your head for decades and they rule your life. Somebody's opinion is that you need to eat 3 cooked meals a day. Another person's opinion is that you need to drink milk for calcium. Another opinion that you need immunization. Another opinion that you need to finish your plate because children in China starve to death, and if you finish the plate, they don't starve. And so there are so many things that we've told, and very often at my workshops, people say, they say. I say, who they? Well, professionals, specialists, experts. Well, I don't really care anymore because my goal is to gain clarity, not knowledge. What's the difference? There's a huge difference. In fact, we accumulated too much knowledge, and this knowledge is cluttering our brain. It is cluttering our ability to channel the information. Until I was 39, I didn't know that I can channel. And I'm sure that most people don't know they can channel. Most people don't even believe it's possible. Most people think it's some kind of a fairy tales. But that is the real true way of learning, is channeling. Have you heard this song? We could all know everything without ever knowing why. Do you know this song? Did you hear that? That's about that. Once when we were traveling around the United States for 2.5 years, being homeless and unemployed, that also happened in our life, in our spiritual search. By the way, homeless means you don't have to worry about paying mortgage. And unemployed means you don't have to go to your job every morning. We were trying to take as many workshops as possible, and one of the workshops we took was in Virginia. It was about sincerity. And we would always come and we would say, can we help? Can we help you clean, do any work, but we would like to take your workshop. And we never been said no. And that's why I'd never send anybody away from my workshop. So it was about sincerity. That was a breakthrough and eye-opening. They divided a group of 50 people into groups of 4, and they placed them in small rooms, and they said, you speak sincerely to each other. But they said, don't just describe events. Describe your feelings towards these events. That's a big difference. Don't just say, well, I went there, then I did this, my wife did this. No. That's not sincerity. You describe what you feel, your emotions, how you feel. And I was so shy that I was just silent there most of the time. I was still conditioned that I'm not as good as others. I was just listening. But when the workshop was over, 2.5 days later, I became brave and I told my husband, I said, Igor, can I tell you all sincerely, and you promise that you'll not stop loving me? And he said, haven't you been sincere yet? And I said, that's not what I mean. And he said, okay, whatever you want. And I started to tell him about my feelings. And he started smiling and hugging me, and he said, wow, I feel the same way. Oh, you dare to say that? I never was brave enough to say that. And then he said, I want to try to be sincere too. And I said, I didn't finish. He said, now it's my turn. Okay. And then he started to say, now I was saying, oh, honey, I love that you say that. 7 hours later, our car ran out of gas. We completely were lost. It was middle of night. We were somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania. Then we were speaking sincerely for another 1,000 hours, and then we stopped calculating. It became our favorite thing to do. Through those conversations, we cleaned lots of the clutter, and I found most of information that I share with people there. I found most of information that I need to know in my life. I found all the truth about myself. I found out who I am. I became connected to it, and I see that that is my solid ground. When I'm sincere, when I can express my feelings to someone and somebody can listen without judging me, I have always solid ground under my feet. And if I don't, I become lost. For years I was thinking I'm somebody Victoria Boutenko, somebody immigrant from Russia, something else, which is not true. I'm a beautiful human being as everybody else. As soon as I figure out that I have lots of goodness in me, I instantly saw goodness in everybody else. I see that people sometimes don't realize how beautiful they are. And I just would like to do anything possible for people to discover that, to see that. Now, for years I believed that channeling is just somebody's tales. It's not something serious. But I want to explain to you scientifically that whenever you think, you cannot think sincerely. Every thought has been edited instantly with your brain, which is a product of this society where we live. So every thought is already edited. We cannot think sincerely, but we can speak sincerely. That is why we're so afraid to speak. That is why we only learn, we rehearse. We learn to speak several sentences that make good impression about us and others. And then when it's over, when we said everything we rehearsed, there is tension and we don't know what to talk about. We talk about weather, we talk about news, and that's all. However, if you learn how to let it go and learn to be sincere, you can never stop. Have you ever been riding in a bus with somebody for 12 hours? When you don't care what people think, you'll never see them again? Sometimes they actually marry later. Because when you're sincere with somebody, you say beautiful things. Do you know when you speak sincerely, God speaks through you? That is channeling. When you speak sincerely without caring what they say, God speaks to you what you need to hear. Those who say that's what they need to hear. Sometimes we were taking notes when the other person is talking and later repeat it. When first Igor was speaking and I was taking notes, and then a week later we were just driving and it was nothing to talk about, and I just said, would you like to listen to that? And I started reading him that. He said, this is genius. Is it Dostoevsky? I said, honey, this is you. He said, me? He said, this is wonderful. This is brilliant. Well, I think that is clarity. I got most of my information that I share in the classes from those sincere talks. And then recently I read in Everest Sjöström book that if a man doesn't have anybody to talk to sincerely, he cannot be completely sane. Everest Sjöström, professional, famous psychologist, he stated that in his book. So, how to gain clarity? Decondition your brain. We are so conditioned. Find those things where you used to think something and now you don't believe it anymore? How many of you have used to think that you need to drink milk to get calcium? Okay? What if I'll give this conditioning back to you? Okay, believe it again. I have magic wand and you just have it back. What will be different? What will change? What will be different in you if you begin to believe that yes? Okay, what will happen? You will become less clear. Okay? So when you decondition, finally you will become so clear that you will not rely on authorities anymore in any decision. Do you understand what it means? Then you gain in freedom. You becoming free. You now can make decisions for yourself, for your life. You clearly see that you've been for 2 weeks on raw food, you felt good. And nobody professional could tell you, hey, you cannot possibly feel good. You know clearly, you see. And though you don't need anymore anybody to tell you. What is different about you relying every decision on somebody else? Well, my finger hurts. I need to go see a finger specialist who will tell me what to do with my finger. That's when you rely on somebody else. When your finger hurts, you think, well, who been longest with that finger? Me. So I have to see what I do with this finger. And then you just kind of go inside, go in tune with your body and try to listen. And you kind of talk it through. You go to somebody you love and say, hey, let's talk about my finger. Well, it started to hurt when? It's when I fell off that rock, so maybe I hurt it. So what can I do about this? And just whatever. I'm just giving you a primitive example, but that's clarity. Clarity is much more important. It cannot be substituted with knowledge. Knowledge is addictive. Knowledge is something that keeps you dependent on somebody else's opinion. You know, my dog started to feel sick. Well, she's a very old dog. And I took her to a veterinarian doctor. And the doctor said she has heart murmur. She cannot walk anymore. She should just sleep at home. Well, for some reason, I took her to another doctor. And another doctor said, no, her heart is fine, but she's developing arthritis. So you need to give her, and the first doctor gave her one prescription. This one gave different prescription. Well, two say different thing. I took her to third veterinarian, and he said she has worms, and she needs to take pills from worms. The third opinion, well, I wonder if in our town we would have 12 veterinarians. What would I have to do? So how do you know your doctor that you go to is the only one that is the best? Do you understand that if you go to 10 doctors, they'll all give you 10 different opinions? And if you go for any advice for 10 different people, that all they will give you different opinion? And if people would have clarity, and they buy brown sugar, then they will be able to read on the label that this is not really brown sugar. This is white sugar, colored with caramel number 6 color. And until now, the most health-oriented people, when they go to Starbucks to buy coffee, they pick up, with lots of knowledge, not the pink package, not the white package, but the brown package, which says brown sugar, because they say, well, I'm healthier than others. I'm drinking coffee with the brown sugar. But it's not brown sugar. If you have clarity, you're willing to see everything how it is, and then you base your decision on the true facts, then all you care is facts. You'll be able to separate. When you read somebody's books, you can separate the true facts from opinion. Okay? Does it make any sense to you? Well, okay. I hope that you can talk more about, talk it through, and then you could figure out what exactly I mean. Well, and just besides this last food prep, I just have one step left, and which is 12-step support. Now, my dear friends, you became so special to me, my in-laws. I want you to remember with gratitude the very first person in your life who mentioned raw food to you when it really stayed. with gratitude, because we never remember that person back. And that person probably was very patient and answered some of your initial questions that you asked, maybe with some irritation. And they maybe treated you with some kind of a food that you tried and something there clicked in you. I want you to remember those people with gratitude, because now it's going to be your turn to be that person. I want you to be patient. When people will ask you those questions about, where do you get your protein? Are you sure you get all the nutrients? Where do you get your calcium? All of that. How do you sprout? How do you soak? These questions you'll hear hundreds of times again and again and again. And I want you to make something delicious and treat those people with that. So I want you to pay ahead. I want you to remember your very first raw food meal that you had in your life. What was special about this food? Why did it make you think that you can do it? I want you to appreciate that, because now it's your turn to create that kind of food. And when you go to the raw food potluck, I want you to take 1 hour and $10 and make a nice plate, even if you already eat simple. Because somebody's destiny will be decided on that day. She's inviting her friend to raw food potluck because she says, hey, you have chemotherapy beginning on Monday. Come to raw food potluck. Maybe you will feel better from raw food. Maybe you can postpone this chemotherapy. And so her friend came with her, and there could be two scenarios. She tried the food, and she said, you know, that food is so bland. I don't think I could live like that. I cannot. I would go do my chemotherapy. Or she could put the food on her plate, and it's so colorful, and she tries it, and she's totally surprised. She says, wow, I can do that. Thank you for taking me here. I'm going to call my doctor and postpone and see how I could do that. And I know some raw fooders have been already on raw food for so long that they eat so simple, so they just bring to the potluck sliced bananas with toothpicks in them. I've seen it. I think it's our duty to pay back. Because once somebody introduced you to raw food, not by sliced bananas, and so we have to share, keep sharing. And then I also want you to remember your very first raw food teacher that was teaching you. Because I believe that every single person in the world is a world teacher. When you becoming the best of yourself, you are the world teacher, and you already have lined up students. Can you look inside and ask yourself the sincere question, am I already the best of myself? Can I become better? If you can, become as best as you can. When you'll become good enough, your students will show up, because they already exist in the world. Your students already like blind kittens looking for you. Where is my teacher? Where is my teacher? They cannot see you yet. They're waiting when you'll shine brighter. And I believe that every one of you is a world teacher, and you will be teacher, and you'll be teaching lots of people good stuff. And now I want to fantasize. I want to visualize. I know how powerful is visualization. I want you to visualize that I know maybe some of you yesterday night after you ate this dinner in our class, you went home and you ate some cooked food. Maybe you wanted to do farewell. But today you've been raw all day. Hey, congratulations. Don't spoil it. Let's fantasize that tomorrow morning you woke up, you thought, well, I should eat that bagel with cream cheese, or maybe I should give it to somebody away. And then you stayed raw through the breakfast, and then you said, well, I've been already 1.5 days almost raw. Let me have raw lunch. And then you stayed raw all the way till tomorrow. And when you had a hard time, you called your sponsor. You've been 2 days raw. That's the hardest first 2 days. And then 3, 4, 5, 2 weeks. And then, I don't want to spoil it, you decided, I'm going to stay raw now. And you became raw for the rest of your life. Well, it was not always that easy, but you stayed raw, and you experience. You throw away your glasses, you stop dyeing your hair because it's natural, and your skin looks so young. And if you don't have partner, you got the best partner in the world. You live the life of king and queen. You sleep the best sleep. You eat the best food in the world. You follow your heart, and then when you're 120, you feel like you did a lot. You're ready to go, and then you look back and tell me this. How many people did you influence in your beautiful life, directly and indirectly? Think about your co-workers. When you keep bringing this wonderfully looking sandwich, raw sandwich, and they keep bringing their pizza, and they eventually, after 2 weeks, they ask, hey, Mary, your sandwich looks so good. Whatever you eat in there, can I ask you to give me a little bite? Because it smells so good, looks so healthy. What do you say, Mary? Sure. Sure. How about your neighbors who keep asking you to come for barbecue, and you keep bringing your own tray with you, and you keep saying, oh, thank you so much, but I would like to eat this food. And they say, is that why you have such a good color on your face? And you say, I think so. Well, do you have anything to read about this? Eventually you're going to influence them. How about your relatives who first going to be like furious? But then when they will see the doctor, and doctor will tell them, hey, woohoo, not good news. The first person they're going to talk to will be you. They say, hey, she's been on her weird diet now for so long, she must be knowing what to do. And think about the cashier in your local store. When you keep bringing 25 pounds of carrots every week, she's asking you, do you have a horse? And you say, no, I have a juicer. Oh, so maybe I should get juicer also. Do you think it will help me with my blood pressure? You say, oh, sure. And think about people who shopping in the same store. When they pretend they don't pay attention. They pretend that they don't look, but they do look. I've noticed how people, when they look in my green and red and purple cart, and then look in their boxes there, they run and quickly grab iceberg lettuce and throw on top of it. Now tell me, how many people would you influence in your life? Entire life, directly and indirectly. Think about me. What if I never spoke to Elizabeth in that line in the bank, and I would never became raw? I would die long ago. My crippled husband with my 2 orphan children will be sent back to Russia, and he would probably be dead long time ago. Those pills wouldn't last him. So, and what would happen to all of the students of mine? And those students who now make their living by teaching raw food, and their students who make living by teaching raw food. What would happen to all of these people? All this, is there any influence there? And now, tell me please, anybody here realistically brave can tell how many people will you influence in your lifetime if you will stay raw for the rest of your life? Anybody can guess? Please? Please? You can yell.
Hundreds.
Hundreds? Thousands? Millions. That's more realistic, because we talk in a lifetime, directly and indirectly. You influence your neighbor, he influences somebody else, and then. Now, my dear friends, let's calculate. If this group of 125 people will add together how many each of you influence, that will be several times population of the globe. Is that worth a try for you?
Yes.
I don't hear the answer.
Yes.
Is that worth a try, that you will influence several times population of a globe in such a beautiful way? Do we need peaceful influence in this world? And it depends on whom? On us. Well, is it worth a try? So remember about that. And I wish you to keep the spirit. And all the times when you will feel blue or down, remember how we were sitting here together when there was such a silence in the air that I could feel I could poke holes in that silence. And I don't remember names, but I remember faces. I have photographic memory on faces. And you know what? Every day I go shop here in Toronto. Yesterday and day before yesterday, I run into somebody I know. Yesterday I ran into a man, I think he's from California. And day before yesterday, I ran into another person. I always run into my students in health food stores, in juice bars, always. So 7 or 10 years from now, I run into you in the health food store, in the juice bar, and you will just look 10, 20 years younger. And I will recognize your face. I wouldn't remember probably what's your name and where you're from. But I say, hey, I know you. And you say, yeah, you're Victoria. I say, where did I meet you? You say, oh, in Toronto. We'll hug and we'll feel like relatives in Raws. See? We become like one family. It's a raw family of the world that we become in part of. And some of my raw family is even closer to me than my blood relatives. Because we have so much in common. We look at the world from the same point. So please, remember that. And I wish you all the best. And I hope to see you again many times at many different events. And God bless you all.